When you look at the dragons, what do you see?
It's important.
What do you see?
I suppose I see us.
Tell me.
Everyone says Targaryens are closer to gods than to men. But they say that because of our dragons. Without them, we're just like everyone else.
The idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. They are a power man should never have trifled with. One that brought Valyria its doom.
If we don't mind our own histories, it will do the same to us. Targaryen must understand this to be king. Or queen.
And welcome back to another episode of the Wrap Up, the show where we discuss everything that transpired in this week's episode of House of the Dragon, episode 6, called, what was it, Faceless Men? I have no idea what this episode is called that. Is it because there's like faceless assassins disguising themselves as other people? I don't know. But joining me today, as always, to break everything down is my co-host, Evan Harris.
Glad to be back. Yeah, very interesting title. We can talk about that like off the jump here. But yeah, I'm excited. We have a big death to talk about here with the spoiler alert, the death of Criston Cole, which was pretty interesting. He went out like he wanted. But then there are a lot of schemes going on in both parties here. Rhaenyra has a couple of schemes that she is going on here. Ormund's scheme to really dismantle Rhaenyra's capability and leadership is going pretty well. But then there's conflict. Their war is afoot. Criston's gone, so the war for Tumbleton is only days away at this point. Very, very excited for that. But very solid episode, very strong episode. Not as good as some of the recent episodes, but again, I'm liking some of the character moments that we're getting so far. Even if this was a slower build-up episode.
Yeah. I think it was last week or the week before that I was talking about how I finished rewatching season 2, and even though like the second half of that season isn't the strongest, it's not like bad. I think it worked better on a rewatch for me, but I am very much getting like flashbacks to season 2 right now with season 3, with the second half of it. Very much seems like we're just going on a circle a little bit, kind of. There are some big moments that I think they're really well executed, but they didn't hit as strong as I imagined they would. One of them being the big one at the beginning of this episode. So we'll talk about that. I guess we can just start with that because it is the end of this arc of this character. We're finally saying goodbye to this character, Criston Cole.
We really should here. I did not see this coming so soon in the episode, the death of Criston Cole. And unlike you, I really thought this worked for me. I was very, love to see Criston go, hate to see Fabian leave. I think Fabian did a fantastic job portraying this really broken character. And I really admire the show for putting in a lot of those worthwhile scenes. Again, we talked about it last week. It kind of got repetitive to a point, but looking back on it and getting to where we are now with his ultimate, unceremonious death, those monologues in like continuity, they really worked for me in terms of like where his mindset, where his heart was leading up to this, again, unceremonious death, was really awesome. And you know what? Last week he was like, I'm the strongest motherfucker in the realm, baby. He was actually putting in some work. He was doing some Jon Snow, work there in the beginning of the episode here, really staying alive. But yeah, I like it. It felt very much, George R. Martin, very much like, oh wow, he's gone just like that. I felt very similarly to less tragic, but like Jace, where it's like, okay, he lived, then boom, arrow to the neck, and just like, oh shit, like you forget, like, yeah, this is a war zone. Jace just gets hit with tons of arrows in the middle of the ocean and he dies. It's like, okay, wow, shit. And then same thing here, another arrow death to a major character. And it's just like, I love the concept of arrows, like it just comes out of nowhere, like boom, and then multiple arrows come in at the same time. I love this. I love this, and leading up to it as well, we got the reminder of Alicent's handkerchief or whatever you want to call it. Just to remember, for him to remember, the scent, the connection that he has with Alicent, even though Alicent probably hasn't thought of him in a couple weeks at this point. But I like that essence of his character, even though his delusions are still there in terms of like his connections and what he wants to remember prior to his death. It still makes for it's very in character for this guy.
Yeah. I think the reason why something like this, I mean, I think it's really well executed, and it is very satisfying to see him go in such a unceremonious way. But I think that one of the reasons why this didn't fully hit, and it is sort of an issue with the book as well, but like the difference with the book is that, we have a lot of these different battles happening across the Riverlands and like all over Westeros, and George R. Martin keeps introducing all of these characters that just very quickly like come in and out, but you remember that because the way that George writes, he'll give them like a line or two that is very good, is very memorable. Like that one line that Oscar Charlie tells him at the beginning, I made a promise to the dead. I told them I would build a set for them out of traitors' bones. I don't have near enough bones yet. That's a line straight from that section of the book. A different character says it, but it's still like a great line to give Oscar in the show.
I love that line. Thank you for remembering that.
Yeah, but like the difference between the book and the show is that, like, as a show, I feel like you should have an opportunity to expand on some of these characters. And we were touching on this, I believe, last week with Roddy Dustin, with Roddy the Ruin, and some of these other like Rivermen besides Oscar, who we did get the chance to spend some time last season with, between him and Daemon, where Roddy and like Black Alley, who is the one who shoots the arrows, they're really cool characters in the show. They look cool, they do cool things, but what else do we know about them? And you could say that about the how it goes down in the book as well. But again, like George is able to like give them like really quick lines and like very memorable. Like you get a sense of personality just of like those quick sentences that he writes for them. And with the show, it is very ambitious of like having to deal with so many characters. It's one of those examples where like sometimes I look back at the original show at Game of Thrones and I'm like, I honestly don't know how you guys did it. But yeah, like I just didn't really felt it, and it wasn't so much because of the Criston Cole of it all. If it was more so because of the people that we were supposed to be rooting for that would do this to him. There's this like really great line that they cut from the show. A character who's not even in the show, his name is Pate of Longleaf, says it. I believe it happens after they kill Criston Cole. It's like, I'll have no songs about how brave you died, Kingmaker. There's tens of thousands of dead on your account. And then like it ends with Georgia saying he was talking to a corpse. So it's again like those little lines of dialogue that he gives characters that are like really impactful and like it makes you remember them. I was missing a little of that in the show, but I will say I do like it happens also in the book, but I do like this idea of Criston like hyping himself up all of season 2, all of season 3, like I'm gonna go out on my own terms, and he doesn't go out on his own terms, but it is specifically because like nobody really likes him, and like he goes in such a unceremonious way, but like his men get the death that he wanted for himself. And like the tragic part about that is that not only does he get neglected, that all of these people, all of his men didn't really want to like go on this suicide mission. It was mostly his idea. I'm pretty sure if you were to like ask them, we would have wanted to go maybe to like Tumbleton with like Wayne instead of staying here with you. But yeah, like that aspect of the battle, if you even want to call it a battle, that really did work for me. And yeah, rest in peace, or rest in piss, Criston Cole.
Yeah, it was a big massacre. I totally understand that. Because I forgot even what the girl with the arrows, what's her name. But I think in contrast to that, like for me at least, they stand out. Like they don't have the most depth of characters, but like if somebody pointed to me like who are these characters, I would know them. I would know them based off of their like physicality and their like just their spotlight. Like even though we don't get a lot of depth with them in terms of like inter dialogue between them, which I would also really love. I think we could have had some more dialogue between them this episode, maybe last week's episode as well, in contrast to like what we're getting with Rhaenyra. We'll get into that, but but like I love them. But yeah, they do stand out, and I think Oscar did have enough screen time in season 2 and in here. That line that you quoted was just it's baller. I'm like, I think everybody was like, he's cooking. Like I made a promise to the dead. I'm like, this guy just got to going to see the Odyssey or something because he is spitting these great mythological lines. It's really awesome. Shout out to Oscar totally, and he's like, yeah. Fuck it, we're not gonna let you get this battle. But you're right, I didn't even think about that. Like his men get the death that he wanted, even though they didn't want that death. Which when the episode started, I'm like, I am shocked that there's this many people still with Criston. Granted, I say this many. There's not that many people left. But like
2000s maybe.
Yeah, but I'm like, these people I would have been gone, Edgar. I'm like, I saw Gwen. Granted, none of them really liked Gwen, but I'm like, I would have been right behind Gwen. I would have been long gone. It's crazy how there were still a couple people still with Criston there, and I didn't see the trap coming either. I was like, okay, I was waiting for like some kind of like a physical trap. I was like, is there something going on here? But then when we went over to the bodies, I'm like, some of these bodies aren't mangled up. So I was slowly realizing it until they did the whole big surprise, which was very fun as a non-book reader. I love seeing those really cool Game of Thrones war tactics in play here. But yeah, great depth, great scene. My dad, funny enough, texted me this morning saying like he just got done rewatching that scene. He loves that scene so much. I'm like, yeah, it is such a fun, great scene. Again, this is a character that if you go in the dictionary of characters that people just love to hate, you'll see a lot of Game of Thrones characters there because House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, they just do it so well where you love to hate these characters. And again, the actors are just doing a phenomenal job. You know, Cersei, even what's it called? The kid that got poisoned in Game of Thrones.
Joffrey.
It's like internet, you know, worldwide, people hated that character, but he was doing his job phenomenally well. He's a fantastic actor for that role. So this show just continues that tradition. Yeah, great scene, great scenery, great lines. I had a great time. And just seeing the big, when the camera pulls out and you get that big wide shot of like the entire encampment closing in on that small forest, it's epic. It's really cool. Even though like I love the restraint too, because we don't see the big brawl. We don't need to. We know they all get wiped out. It's like it's pretty much is crazy. And Gwen's the only survivor to live to tell the tale. Very funny, very, very funny.
Yeah, I think also like another thing that really not that I found a bit funny from Cole's perspective is this idea of like, oh, like if you guys decide to fight us, like some of you guys are gonna die, and it's like, first of all, it's like 12 of you guys, and second, you know, I think I talked about this during the first episode of the season where, you know, Roddy the Ruin comes in with all his winter wolves and he presents himself to Daemon and he's like, we've come to die for the Dragon Queen or whatever. It's like the same thing with like Cole of like he's on this suicide mission, but like two completely different perspectives. One is like very celebratory and the other one is like, I just want to die already type of thing. And what I found funny about it is that like he says that and it's like, yeah, they know that. They purposely went ahead and sent people to die, to fake their deaths only to die for real, just so they could like, you know, corner you. So yeah, it's a fun scene, even though it's you know, I like little issues with it.
It's funny because I thought of you during that scene because yeah, he Criston's like, yeah, let's die, let's box, like two of you versus one of me. And the guy is like, yeah, I'm ready to die too. Like I was like, oh yeah, exactly like Edgar mentioned. Like this guy is like, episode 1, he's ready to die, and here he's like, sure, maybe, yeah, but like you're going to die here, Criston. Like it's a wrap. So yeah, those guys are ready to die, and I guess we'll see them. Their next state is like, okay, cool, we got this nuisance out of the way, straight to Tumbleton, right? That's the mission. That's the goal. Okay. So I'm very excited to see where that leads.
I think that we can like comfortably say that at this point, Tumbleton is going to be the season finale of this season.
Yes. Then what's next episode? Do we have a whole episode before that?
Yeah, well, like just from the previews, Alicent going to, Heron home, Rhaenyra dealing with Helena, little things like that.
Hey, Dreamer, let's talk.
We'll get into it.
I love the Rhaenyra memes every episode. They never fail to amaze me.
Do you want to get another little, in this case, it would be an annoyance.
Get Rhaena out the way.
Yeah. More of the same.
Let's talk about it, Edgar. Are we in season 2 territory again?
Yeah.
Are we there again?
Okay. You know how we were talking about that scene, really great scene between her and Daemon.
We love that scene. Yes.
When they start talking about what happened and her guilt and whatever, and it's like, okay, like I don't like the choice that you did with this whole Nettles Rhaena thing of it all, but at least you're doing something interesting, I guess. But again, like my problem is, and this is like it goes back to the Nettles problem. The conflict with Nettles, one of the reasons why it's interesting is because everybody's looking at her like she doesn't belong. Not just because I mean, first of all, like she's like a black character in the book. Also, she's a commoner, and everybody is like, "How the fuck do you claim a dragon? You don't even look Targaryen." And again, it goes back to like that's almost like kind of like racy thing in the book. But like none of that is existent here in the show. And another thing about that is that, like as I've talked about in the past weeks, Nettles is very involved in the wedge that happens between Daemon and Rhaenyra, which Mysaria kind of has also like a hand on in the books. And even though like Rhaenyra and the King's Landing plot in the show is already so like overstuffed, Rhaenyra is dealing with the small folk. She's dealing with what Ormund is doing. She's dealing with the Gold Cloaks being murdered. She's dealing with Alicent.
Daemon.
It's all already very overstuffed and overwhelming, but I feel like it would be way more beneficial for the show if you had a character like Nettles who is like, adding to this, mountain of things that Rhaenyra is dealing with. And by not having that in the show, you are like, at this point, I feel like I'm just waiting for the big reveal between Daemon and Rhaenyra of like, oh, you lied to me type of thing about killing Sheep Stealer's rider. And I feel like we're just like waiting for that to happen. And also Rhaena is just like alone again on like all by herself, and on her own she's not interesting. She needs like these Targaryen characters, the familiar characters around her to make her storyline interesting, and we don't have that. And like the actress that plays Lady Jane Eyre, like she's good at her job, but again, like
it doesn't count.
It doesn't count because she is a third party. She's like an outsider, and she's not like directly impacted. Even though she would be impacted by, she would suffer some consequences if Rhaenyra were to like find out that she's alive and that she's being basically keeping her around in the Vale, even if she's not like being treated as a princess. It's just not interesting.
Even like you mentioned, even Lady Aaron isn't interesting of a character. She's not. Like I like her scenes with Daemon when they had that little bite back and forth. I'm like, this is fun. This is interesting because Matt Smith has great chemistry with anybody. But like Lady Aaron and Rhaena together, what are we gaining, Edgar? I'm shocked. I'm like, this is the same issue they had with season 2 where Rhaena is like telling us she's isolated. She's telling us how she feels this way. We're not seeing it. We're not seeing how isolated she is. Like, I mean, granted, yeah, like you were sent to take care of my children. You were sent away. That's your job. But like, we never got the sense of her feeling isolated because she's not with the characters that she says were isolating her. I need to feel that. And I thought we were going to get that. When she flies off, I'm like, okay, we're here with Rhaenyra. She sees her sister, but then we jump cut to...
There's scenes missing in the show, like in the season so far.
We jump cut to Lady Aaron being like, what were you doing? And I'm like, wait,
what happened? What happened?
So, honestly, I'm watching this with my brother and his girlfriend. I'm like, do I rewind it? I'm like, no, I don't think we missed anything. I was like, it was just so shocking because I would have loved to seen, if you want to stick with Rhaenyra being on this other, area, I would love to see Rhaenyra going to a town, almost being found out. Maybe she was found out. Maybe like she can be like found out by one of Miss Arya's many little spies. And that could connect to King's Landing in the future, where it's like Midoriya finds out about Rhaenyra. But either way, I would have loved to see Rhaenyra come into contact with Baela, or even who was Baela with? Adam. Like Baela, and then Baela, they can like have a hushed talk behind an alley, and it might have felt repetitive with like her and Daemon, but it felt different because they're sisters, and maybe she would have reacted differently to seeing her sister be alive. And not where she's supposed to be compared to Daemon, who was like stumbling over his words. Like I would have loved to see Baena and Rhaenyra have that reunion, and then you could easily just have Baela go back to where we see her in this episode, exhausted, and she has that scene with Alan. That would have perfectly fit even if she met her sister, couldn't convince her to come back. I would have been fine with that. I would have been fine with her.
Also because Baela. Like even Baela during that scene with Alan, she's like, I have so much shit to deal with. It's like, yeah, add the sisters, think of it all.
Add her sister complex of being like, man, my sister's alive and I don't know how to deal with it. Alan, and then
I can't tell anybody.
And I can't tell anybody. Like that would have been, again, it would have felt kind of repetitive because, again, it's her sticking with here and somebody being like, hey, what are you doing?
But it's already repetitive, so might as well.
You might as well. I'm just shocked that we're on episodes. We have 2 episodes left. And I'm completely surprised. I'm completely surprised why the storyline is the way it is. Whenever we come on here and you tell me again and again the Nettles storyline, it just seems infinitely more interesting. And yeah, like Rhaenyra is dealing with a lot, and I'm loving everything they're doing with Rhaenyra and King's Landing. But yeah, I would have loved, because again, like
it would be more conflict for her to deal with.
It would just be more conflict. It would be more interesting. You can see Rhaenyra having a dynamic with Rhaenyra, which right now she has 0 dynamic.
And not just Rhaenyra, it would also add
her father
to Daemon for Daemon to deal with, like not on top of the Gold Cloaks.
And yeah, we'll get to the Gold Cloak stuff too, because I'm just like, I like it. I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot more last week, where it's more like criminal, like
true detective
type shit going on there last week. This week, there's like no real solution, but we'll get to that. But like, I would love to see, like, the reason I like that Daemon and Rhaenyra scene so much, because like Daemon actually having to contend with being a father for a minute, because he hasn't really had to be that in a minute, especially in season 2. So yeah, that's kind of it for Rhaenyra in this episode. She goes off to town. She swears nobody saw her. I'll be kind of upset if we cut to like episode next week or episode 8 in the finale, and Miss Arya gets whispered like, "Hey, we saw Rhaenyra one day when she was in the town." Because like I would have loved to see that, because I feel like Miss Arya has to figure it out somehow, right? Because it's not going to be Daemon, or it's not going to be Rhaenyra, and they already teased Miss Arya figuring out that Daemon is lying. So that thread is there. So the show is telling us Miss Arya will find out more proof that Daemon is lying. That more proof being Miss Arya finding out that Rhaenyra is still alive. We could have gotten teased of that this episode when she was possibly found out in town. But again, the show skips over that. We don't know if she was. I guess we have to take Rhaenyra's word that nobody saw a big ass dragon. I don't know.
Here's an idea, and I don't know how you would have to change a lot of the structure. Well, maybe not a lot, but some of the structure of the season for this to work. But let's say that Daemon was able to convince Rhaenyra to come back to King's Landing with him after that one episode. and you have the drama, like the fall down between her and Rhaenyra, and maybe she tries to imprison her. I don't know, blah blah blah, and like she's like let go, even though Rhaenyra is still like pissed off at her, right? You know this whole thing with the Gold Cloaks. What if fucking Daemon had a little partner to fucking solve this thing, and it was Rhaena? I would at least she would like be doing something. Like him
Wow.
disguising himself as a Gold Cloak, and she like as a like commoner, and like trying to like figure this thing out. Again, I'm not saying like you would have to like change some things around because you would have to add some dynamics, but like at least you would be giving Rhaena something to do besides just moping. Because like another problem with the Rhaena storyline is that a big theme of the show in general is that it's kind of like this thing that we're all very familiar of. Be careful what you wish for, right? Rhaenyra wanted to be queen, she gets it, and what happens? All of this shit is like laid out on her feet. Similar with Daemon, now he has to deal with all of this stuff in the City Watch. But Rhaena, you could say that she is the primary example of the show. Like she wanted a dragon, she gets it. What happens? All of this shit happens at the Battle of the Gullet, kind of, sort of, because of her fault.
Kind of,
but like, well, yeah, but like, every time that we cut back to her, it's just her stating that, and like we know that we saw the show too. We saw the show too.
And sorry to interrupt. And then the behind the scenes of the episode, they have the nerve to be like, "What's so interesting about Rhaena is that she got what she wanted." Like even you guys are repeating yourselves. You guys said the same shit in episode 1 behind the scenes. It's like we know what Rhaena's dealing with. She's telling us. You're telling us. We're watching it. Nothing's changing.
Yeah.
Nothing's
what
changing.
if? And again, going back to my little idea with the Gold Cloaks and her being like a partner to Daemon, like what if that was her way of like trying to redeem herself to Rhaenyra in her eyes?
And that would have been, I could instantly see that because it does two things, your idea. Like it has her look up to Daemon in a way that she hadn't seen Daemon be like this leader, figurehead, leader of the Gold Cloaks the way they respected him.
She knows the legend, but she hasn't seen it in person, type of thing.
Exactly, 100%. And then, seeing her undercover can give us flashbacks to
Rhaenyra as a child. I'm going undercover in the city.
Exactly. And who's the girl? Who's the small girl in Game of Thrones? The little star.
Oh, Arya.
Arya, when she was like undercover and those
everybody mistakes her for like a boy.
Exactly.
You already cut her hair anyway.
Like we could have had some of that shit. At the same time, we know Rhaenyra wouldn't have killed Rhaena. I could be wrong, but like in my opinion, it would have been very dramatically fruitful because I know she would have wanted to kill Rhaena. But she wouldn't, because that's not really who Rhaenyra is, especially the way she talks to Alicent. Especially this episode where Alicent's like,
if she hasn't killed Alicent at this point, she wouldn't kill Rhaenyra.
Thank you, Edgar. If she hasn't killed Alicent, she wouldn't have killed her own. I don't even know the lineage. Like she wouldn't have killed her own niece, sorta. Something, whatever, her own family. She wouldn't have done
stepdaughter. There you go.
Thank you, because Alicent should be dead. Helena should be dead. Their children should be dead. Rhaenyra now knows Helena's pregnant, and what does she do? She walks away. It's like Rhaenyra wouldn't have killed her. She wouldn't have. So we could have had that interesting dynamic. But you know what? We're spending more time talking about her than what we got in the fucking episode. So let's move along, because I'm pissed. But anyway, that was Rhaenyra. I mean, that was Rhaena. That was annoying. What did we get here?
Do you want to get another quick moment out of the way with Aegon?
I didn't write down any Aegon in this episode.
It's very short. It's like even like barely worth talking about. But
I did like the framing.
Very comedic.
Very comedic framing when we cut to Aegon and he's still with Tywin, sorry. Tywin digging up the hole for the guy that tried to kill Aegon, or Aegon killed last week. In the framing I'm talking about is like Aegon's in the middle, and then Tywin's to the right, and then Larys is to the left. He is stuck between like, what do you really want to do? And Aegon's like solution to this is asking Tywin, "Do you think I'm a terrible person?" And then it leads to some great comedic like stumbling of words here, where he's like, we all have terrible people in ourselves.
We all are bad, kind of. We all have bad in ourselves.
Very, very funny scene.
Even funnier than the scene itself to me is just, again, it is one of the examples where the show, whether it was because of time and episodes being cut down since season 2 and now season 3 and most likely season 4, we don't really get again, like I mentioned earlier, it feels like there's scenes missing in the show. But just thinking about like how did these two cripples and these like tired, like kind of like middle-aged man get the body out of this very crowded castle.
Great point. It's like about to hide the back window.
Very inconvenient, very convenient. But yeah, I again, very small scene. It's just Aegon's way to test Tylan of whether or not he can not necessarily trust him, but whether he can count on him being hard on Aegon. Because at the end of the day, Larys is the one who wants to go to Essos, and Tylan is like, let's just go hang out at my house at Casterly Rock, basically. And by asking him that question, he not only realizes that that Larys is the only one out of the two that will actually be honest with him, but because of that, he goes with Larys's plan. It's like, okay, like I might not like how this guy talks to me, but at least he's like being honest with me, type of thing.
And I thought, but by the way, Larys said he wants to go to Essos, and Aegon said, okay, we can head to Bravos. Are those in the similar spots?
Well, yeah, Bravos is Bravos is where Arya went in Game of Thrones, okay. Like the House of Black and White. That's where it was.
Gotcha. But this is interesting. Aegon wanting to listen to somebody who is hard on him. We talked about it last week, and it continues here that he is continuing to side with Larys. Larys is hard, being hard on him has really, really done a number on Aegon. I was surprised that it really stuck with him going into this episode. Granted, in universe, it hasn't been that long, but like I like that Aegon is still thinking about that, even asking Tylan that question. I was just kind of shocked that like I thought some narrative device would stop them from going overseas. I thought they would stay in Westeros.
There's still time.
there is still time, so I'm curious to see like, oh, is this actually happening? Well, what's going to happen here? So I guess we shall see. Unfortunately for Tylan. But what's next here? What do you want to talk about?
Well, now we can actually like dive into like storylines that develop across the episode.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to go to first?
I really want to get into the beginning of the episode here with Daemon.
All right.
I really like a lot of the stuff here. We cut to
Daemon Watch.
We're in Daemon Watch. We cut to the another uncomfortable council meeting with Daemon here. Really, I like when he threw the pot at the two whispering assholes over there. Manderly and the what are they? The Rivers Freys. Very, very funny. But I put in my notes here that we kind of got a slight reversal from even last week. So last week, well, at the beginning of this whole dilemma, Rhaenyra was like, we have to look inward because what my father would have wanted. Look at the people, look inward. While Daemon wanted to like, stretch farther. We have 6 dragons. We have twice as many as Aegon the Conqueror. She's like, no, let's look inward. Cut to last week where Rhaenyra wanted to stretch outward and go after, Ormund, all this stuff. And Daemon was the one to be like, no, let's look inward. My people are getting murdered. My people are not getting paid. Let's look inward to see the Gold Cloaks problem. And then we cut to this episode where we get another reversal where he's ready to burn it all down. Daemon's whole argument here, this council chamber, is to burn it all down. Let's go to Tumulton. Let's burn them all down. You're backed by the prophecy, Rhaenyra. We can just burn everything down. And Rhaenyra has to be the one to be like, let's chill. Let's still look inward. Let's still look at like what the solution here is with the town, with the Gold Cloaks. So it's like, I love for the past 3 episodes to keep getting like a seesaw effect here between what Daemon and Rhaenyra kind of want to do. They haven't been in line per se, even though by the end of this episode, they are crashing out in their own ways with like, Daemon like losing a lot of control here in town and Rhaenyra losing a lot of control with the cuts and stuff like that and asking Alicent to do something so crazy. It is getting interesting. They are getting, even though they are on opposite sides here at times, Daemon and Rhaenyra, both of their storylines are progressively getting more desperate. Rhaenyra is getting more desperate with her rulership, her leadership. and Damon's getting more desperate because his people are leaving him, and he's like both of them are getting pushed into a corner, which is so shocking to see in contrast to how much power and on top of the world they were in episode 2. It is very shocking to see where they are now. But again, we cut to this council chamber, and I really like where Damon's head is at, and even Rhaenyra. It's like I understand where they both want to do here. Last week I was kind of like, Rhaenyra, you're kind of out of line here. Damon's the one doing the right thing here. But now it's kind of like, Daemon, chill, because he's back on that whole burning plan. So it's very interesting. Where do you fall here?
I agree with you, but I found it very amusing that Daemon just starts talking about the prophecy in front of all of these people, and Meister Orwell kind of like leans in and like, what the hell are they talking about?
What prophecy? Huh? What?
No, but yeah, like like I do understand where Daemon is coming from, because even though he seemed a little bit more in control or more calm last week, obviously since last week he lost basically half of his men, if anything. And he lost the rest of them this week. It didn't happen right before the scene, but it happens later. Part of it does have to do with the fact that they don't really have a real army in King's Landing, because they just walked in and like took the throne with like nobody's help really, besides the Gold Cloaks. But in my mind, I'm like, yeah, sure, wait for your armies from the Riverlands, and from I think Alan is the one who suggests to get the rest of the Balerian army to King's Landing to go help with Tumbleton. But I'm like, dude, you don't even have to burn the city. Just have one of the dragons like destroy the gates and have the men just like swoop in and clean shop. Maybe that will be the sort of the plan once we get closer to episode 8. In good Game of Thrones fashion, I'm sure it's gonna go terribly wrong for both parties.
What could possibly go wrong? Yeah.
But yeah, I really like this dynamic, and I that, like, that Daemon says, I'm not gonna take advice. More or less, like, I'm just paraphrasing, and I'm gonna take advice from people whose greatest like experience with like battle is like their own digestive systems or something like that. I'm like, that's a very Daemon thing to say.
Yeah, he is so tired of their bullshit. It's hilarious. I love seeing Daemon in these meetings. Has he been to more meetings here than he ever was when Viserys was here?
With Viserys? Probably.
He was never there. Granted, Viserys kicked him out. Him and Otto did not like each other. So Rhaenyra is at wit's end here. She is stuck. Her Gold Cloaks are losing, are getting depleted. She's getting some Valyrian assistance in the future. But there also is a message about the Baratheons. Baratheons could help her out here in the coming battles. But Boros isn't there. Kind of shocking, he just sends his men, and they're like, oh yeah, he's dealing with, I wrote it down here, the Vulture Queen or Vulture King.
Yeah. Which I honestly, it is from the book, but it's one of those things where I didn't really think that they would include, and I'm surprised that they did. And the reason why I'm surprised that they did is because I'm pretty sure they're not even going to show it. They're just going to tell us about it. So I'm like, why even bring it up? But yeah, I was talking about it in our little chat yesterday or Sunday night. But I like the idea that, the Baratheon men come in. They're like, we kind of want to help you guys, but like not really be committed to your cause yet. And Rhaenyra just getting in that instance the idea, maybe from what happened to her with the assassination attempt in season 2 with the Cargill twins. Criston Cole's and Aegon's idea.
I forgot about that dumbass.
What if I do the same, but like make it a little bit more convincing? And the reason why it would be more convincing is because, keep in mind, Rhaenyra didn't know that Wayne was going to be president in Tumbleton, but and we'll get into it as we talk about that storyline. But like, Ormund is not the type who respects, people below him, so it would make sense why he wouldn't even really think about it twice and be like, oh yeah, you're with the Baratheons, type of thing. So even though it was a dumb idea for Criston Cole, maybe not too dumb from Rhaenyra.
No, this would have worked out flawlessly. This is a great plan. she got hoed because Gwen just happened to be there. But yeah, it would have worked out flawlessly. So I give props to Rhaenyra for this plan, and I love Emma's acting here when they're like, sorry that our full forces couldn't be here, but we'll do whatever you want us to do. And she's like, like I love Emma's like pondering face. It's very funny, very, very cute. But yeah, so that's what's going to happen. And yeah, this is part of her plan because they also talk about more like pointed killings. We don't want to burn everybody. We're just going to burn the people that are not loyal to us. We want to destroy and kill Ormund and his people, not really everybody in Tumbleton. We cut to Vermithor's Silverwing have a nice little moment as Hugh arrives for his shift at Tumbleton. And we're back on Dragonseed Watch a lot in this episode as well. This was very interesting. As Hugh is about to relieve Ulf, they have a little bit of a discussion here. Ulf's like, my life isn't really better off now than it was weeks ago prior to being a Dragon Rider. And he asks Hugh, like, has your life really improved all that much? And it really pushes Hugh later on to get internally. You can see Hugh process that. Like, my life hasn't really been improved because I haven't seen my wife in like a month or two. So it really pushes him to go see his wife, and it pushes Ulf to go back to what he was doing, which was drinking his life away. So very unfortunate to what happened with Ulf later on, but like, yeah, these dragon seeds, I talked about Daemon and Rhaenyra getting desperate as well. These dragon seeds are getting very, very desperate to follow their own proclivities per se. Ulf with his drinking, Hugh with his family. It's like, these are two things that we mentioned early on to keep an eye out. Hugh is a very loyal person. The one entanglement, the one, feather that could push him over the edge is his relationship to his family. If that starts to crack, his relationship to Rhaenyra would then start to crack. And then for Ulf, it's kind of self-explanatory. Yeah. There's only 20 times you can get hit by Daemon so yeah, it's very funny, but I do like that the show is prioritizing these scenes. I didn't expect it, post the whole Dragon Seed arc in season 2, but ever since episode 1, every single episode we've gotten some really good groundwork for a lot of these Dragon Seed moments with Hugh, Ulf, Adam not so much, but like Adam is just so loyal. So, but everybody else, like these two are ones to keep an eye on.
Yeah, Adam is very much like the Boy Scout, and these two are a little bit more gray. Yes. I've always been somewhat surprised by how well the show has handled the dragon seeds from the beginning, even in season 2, prior to them claiming their dragons, because we did spend significant amount of time with them beforehand.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And it is one of those examples of I wish they kind of followed that formula with other characters, other storylines. Like, for example, we talked about earlier on with the Rivermen, with the Winter Wolves, Black Alley, and all of them. It's like, I wish there was about the same amount of care or time dedicated to those characters as we have seen with Ulf and Hugh. And granted, these two will have a much bigger role to play later this season and early season 4, so I get why we've seen as much as we have of them. But even their scenes, they're not very long. Like, we get like maybe one scene every episode, or one scene every other episode, and they're really well executed. They're really well written. Even their knighthood in episode 3,
that was so fun.
Very, very, very short scene, but it tells you a lot about what each character is about. And I really like this stuff with Ulf and Hugh, and even, I mean, we can talk about the scene with his wife as we're talking about them right now. But
so let's do it.
This idea, again, going back to the Rhaenyra thing, but in contrast to Rhaenyra, instead of like explicitly telling us like, oh, like I got what I wanted and like look where I am right now, we're just like, we're being shown that within the actions of the characters. Back in that scene in, I want to say episode 6 or 5 of season 2 of Rhaenyra sends the boats with all the food supplies for the small folk of King's Landing, and everybody's like fighting over it. And there's this moment in where Hugh is like, "Oh, what's going on?" And he sees that there's food, and right out the very like suddenly he becomes very violent and starts beating people up for like a piece of lettuce. Um, it might seem like, you know, just a moment of survival, but it is significant enough of like this guy, even though he seems noble, there does seem to be like a bit of a dark edge to him. And he claims the dragon in a very kind of like self-sacrificial way of like trying to save this woman, and just like yelling at at Vermithor. But then we cut to what happened with Cat, with his wife. And you know I don't want to bring up the whole like the flip of a coin thing, but like there is the sense of like this like violent side of him like becoming a little bit more prominent now that he's a dragon rider. Very similar in a way, you could say, maybe compare it to like Aemon, or like after he claimed Vagar, he was like his whole thing kind of changed. And even though that hasn't fully happened yet with Hugh, it's there, and it's the show is not like drawing attention of like, oh, look, like he got a dragon and like be careful what you wish for. Like, no, it's like it's just letting scenes happen on their own without drawing attention to them, which I mean, I know what happens with this character, so I know where he's going. But I think the show has done a really well job at exploring these two characters and their path of dragon riders, and how they stayed the same but also change in a significant but not obvious way yet.
Significant and organic way. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I forgot how much time we actually did spend with Hugh and his family in season 2. We spent a significant, not significant, but we spent a worthwhile amount of time with his family. The death of his daughter, like all that kind of stuff, is really touched upon in season 2. And yeah, you're right. Like, we're really seeing his anger arise, and his anger is spawning from his desperation, his connection to his family. This is a man, going all the way back to season 2, this is a man who has lost a lot, and he gained so little, despite owning now a nuclear weapon, right? Like, he's owned a nuclear weapon, but as Ulf says, has your life improved even though you have this huge weapon? And it hasn't really. He still hasn't had a castle, a place to live, as he asked for Rhaenyra in episode 3. It's like, oh, we'll get to that, Hugh. We'll get to that. His wife still isn't here. And he goes to see his wife. And let me just say right now, a short little rant. I am baffled, not baffled because internet's stupid, but I am baffled by the amount of people who are upset at the wife here. There's no reason to be upset at the wife here. Zip, zero, no nada. Like, it makes complete sense why she is acting this way. Hugh has Hugh is like, yeah, it's like, oh, of course you have a better life with Hugh. Why can't you just leave him? She has every right to be absolutely pissed. When she was talking about like the trip from King's Landing to Tumbleton, I didn't even think about that. I'm like, doesn't sound very good at all. On top of like her near sexual assault happening in town as well in Tumbleton, losing her uncle. It's like, I can't hear you. Like it's very bad. It's very, very bad. And I understood it completely. Because this is one of the perfect scenes where it's like, oh, I didn't need to see those scenes, but the way she's emotionally telling him what happened, I understood it completely. And then, as you mentioned, Hugh's anger in response to this is very like not shocking, but it's like, oh, I can't side with Hugh here. As an audience member, I'm really becoming more turned off by Hugh. For lack of better words, it's like, oh, whoa, Hugh, you're going a bit too far here. I understand where you're coming from. Obviously, you want to be united with your family, but you've also made a lot of mistakes in terms of like not coming to your family sooner, not communicating with your family, not being able to, and maybe that wasn't entirely his fault. But either way, I totally understand where his wife is coming from. It's like, especially seeing him react this like physically angry in contrast to the tenderness that he showed in season 2 a little bit. Like, he is acting a little bit different. And what's a dragon going to do to repay all the pain that she went through? It was like nothing really. So I love it. And I was shocked to see some people be like, I have no idea why she was acting this way. I'm so shocked. Why was she acting like a bee? I'm like, people are idiots, but yeah.
Yeah. And then you contrast that with Ulf, which is, from the beginning, Ulf has been like this arrogant asshole type of like drunken character. But it's been a very curious between this episode and I don't know if it was last week or the week before. I think it was the week before, uh when he goes up to Rhaenyra at the small council and he starts talking to her about about the pardons for his friends. But then like he gets very serious at the end, whether it was as a gotcha moment or as a moment of weird wisdom from his behalf of like, hey, you might be on the throne, but people are saying this shit about you behind your back.
Mhm.
And then we have this moment between him and Hugh, and he's an idiot, but like he's also not wrong about like, yeah, we have all of this stuff, and I would much rather be where I am right now than where I was without a dragon, but we're basically just like dogs with a leash. We're only allowed to roam free when we're told to, and that's about it. Um, which again, like I'm very very excited for how Tumbleton is gonna play out in the show. Again, whether it is gonna be like two battles, one most likely just this season and the next one in season 4, or whether they're just gonna combine them in one in the show.
I figure they're gonna
Um,
combine them.
yeah, well, I was like rereading some stuff from the Fire and Blood. I'm like, actually, I don't know how you combine them, but we'll see. Um, but um, but yeah, like getting to see these cracks in these omens that Rhaenyra keeps telling herself of like all these dragons came to me in my moment of most need, and like you're still treating them like shit. Um, but yeah. And how is it gonna bite her in the ass later on? We'll see.
That is so true. A lot of her power comes from just as Daemon keeps on telling us the numbers play. We have 6 dragons, and Aegon team has like 1 with Vhagar, who we can't even find. It's like they have so much power in numbers, but like you're really taking your power that you feel so happy that the gods blessed you with. You're taking it for granted here with the way they're treating Hugh. Let's cut to the way they're treating Ulf here, where Ulf makes his way back to King's Landing, goes to Flea Bottom, where after we'll talk about Daemon later on, but he runs into Daemon after the whole ordeal. And Damon's like, what the? It was very, very funny. Very, very bad timing for Ulf. Poor Ulf. He's like, out of all the people to run into.
Oof. Again, is Daemon wrong? No, but it's the way that but it's the way. It's the way.
And especially because Daemon is not in a good headspace. He just got finished killing some guy. It's like, oh, you would never find us. Like, you just killed one of possibly many people. Daemon's feeling very defeated still. And then he runs into Ulf. Like, I'll be like, he was not in the right headspace. And of course, he just like slaps him and then like kicks him. It's just like not a great look for Ulf. I forget the exact words, but he was like, I will like kill you if I ever see you out of your station again. It's like his threats are getting even more pointed and dangerous.
Yeah, I think the phrase is that I will poke your eyes out if I see you again in King's Landing, something like that.
Oof. Not great. So the tension is really mounting between him and Ulf, and then of course Hugh almost getting found out by the guards at his city, so he had to leave his own wife again, presumably. We don't see him leave, right? We just see, or do we see him leave?
No, Hugh? No. How did he sneak into Tumbleton looking like a Targaryen again?
Yeah,
I guess we'll accept it, but
are Targaryens the only blonde people in Westeros?
I mean, no, but
he's just a.
Also, he's just wearing his armor. Well, no,
he put on the guy's rags.
No, he put on the other guys. Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, but either way, he had to leave his wife, and then Ulf was on the ground. So both of these characters not in the right headspaces as we leave episode 6 here. But let's cut back to Daemon in his storyline. We'll end off our episode on with Alice and Aemond. But let's come back with Daemon, and we next see him go to the Gold Cloaks early on in the episode, and he's having a little speech round 2. It's going to go just as well as last time, right, Edgar? It's going to go just as well. He's going to give them a good hearty speech, and they're all going to cheer and clap for Daemon. Not so much. They all desert Daemon, and this was really seeing Daemon take this L on like a social ladder point of view was very, very interesting. These are people that Daemon helped train, Daemon worked with. They owe their lives to Daemon, to elevating them to this position. But as he mentioned, we have families too. We have obligations to ourselves. And if we're not getting paid, we're dying a lot, it's not really worth it here. and they kind of leave Daemon. Very, very fascinating scene.
Another mistake that Damon makes in this scene, where the main guy who's speaking for like the group, the older guy, he's saying like, "Oh, I'll find work. I'll work as a smith, or I'll start making bread or whatever he says, just to feed my family." And then Damon immediately goes into like defensive mode and starts like, "Oh, like I'll go and have people go find your make sure your families are like basically threatening his families."
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, like like come on. But I mean, I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, it's like, this is not the way, Damon, type of thing. So yeah, it is interesting to see Damon in a position where a lot of his power comes from the respect that he has from people, and losing that kind of puts him in a very interesting position, and especially compared to like everybody around him, because even his little rivalry that he had with Mysaria, a lot of it had to do with the fact that Mysaria convinced Rhaenyra to use the coin that they got from the Vale to pay, to give money out to the common people, or like pay for their food or stuff like that, and the supplies. And then as a result, the Gold Cloaks aren't getting paid. So a lot of the conflict there was the fact that Daemon had people loyal to him, and a lot of his power came from the loyalty that he had for supporting Rhaenyra, and now he doesn't even have that anymore. What does he have against Mysaria during an argument now?
Not much. You're right. That's been one of the biggest pendulums of the season, the battle between him and Mysaria. And even though we didn't see much of Mysaria this week, we saw that Daemon is losing a lot of like social capital here. He's losing a lot of his people. So then we see Daemon really go undercover himself, later on in the episode. You're like, you know what? I don't need these guys. I'm going to go undercover myself. And I do like seeing Daemon. It is very funny, just visual, seeing Daemon in a gold cloak suit going undercover. And the guy really falling for the bait, the guy behind him. This is the same person that got like that sent the letters to the messages to Ormund. He eventually confronts Daemon. Daemon traps him, eventually kills him. But before that, he says like, I am one of many. You will never really like, I forget the phrases here, but he says basically like, you would never find the rest of us. Like you would never, there's a lot of us, we have no, he said we have no banners. But like the true king will rise, talking about Darren. So not a good look. He does end up getting killed, that one guy, but it's like, my question in my notes here is this the solution? Are we killed this leader figure person, but like, are there going to be more deaths in the future? I doubt that we'll see that many in the episodes to come, because the Gold Cloaks kind of have already deserted, so there's not much to kill anyways. But I think, what do you think Daemon gets out of this confrontation? Is his solution to be like, okay, next stop, I need to go to Tumbleton now to end this, or is this the end of the whole Daemon crime storyline here?
Yeah, that's what I'm interested in with episode 7, because 7 really is like this bridge between everything that we've experienced so far and the inevitable battle at Tumbleton that will most likely be the season finale. I would have imagined that maybe, I mean, because from the previews for this week's episode, we saw like that shot of of Daemon in the Gold Cloak outfit, and you can just barely see his hair, but you can tell that it's him. Mm-hmm. I would have thought that maybe he would have dealt with the whole thing this week, and next week is just like preparation for the Battle of Tumbleton. But obviously that's being stretched out until like next week, so I really don't know. I'm a little bit in the dark here, as much as you are. But yeah, I mean, I just hope this doesn't become like a bit repetitive. Even though, like, I mean, again, there's only one more episode. I will have to be dealing with this plot in season 4, but if we do, it will have like a different repercussions given what happens at the end of the first Battle of Tumbleton. So we'll see.
Yeah, guess we'll see. Yeah, I don't really know what happens with Daemon next week, but I'm always interested to see what's up with the Daemon watch. Okay, that's kind of it for Daemon. Rhaenyra, this episode is dealing with a lot herself as well. We already talked about the whole Baratheon scene. She asks them basically, as we see towards the end of the episode, to go kill Darren and Ormond. The next time we see Rhaenyra, is it when she's on the throne? I think it is.
I think so, yeah.
And this was an excellent scene. This was a very big scene here as tensions are mounting for Rhaenyra. And this is the first time we're actually seeing the physical manifestation of those tolls that she's dealing with. As she's on the Iron Throne, people are talking about, because of the lack of gold cloaks, the women from the scepter getting taken away, assaulted, not very good. There's no protection on the streets. Supplies are going missing. Rhaenyra's all just like, I'm sending. The solution is that Velaryon men are on the way, and they're like, "What, Velaryon men? Oh shit! Like, who's gonna feed them?" Very, very funny scene, because it's just like that might not be the solution either.
Also, Rhaenyra, you shouldn't be talking about your plans of bringing up an army with strangers that may be spies for Ormond.
Yeah, true. Exactly. Yeah, because they have no idea about what's really going on, and yeah, if any of those people in there have any ties to Ormond, not good. But then throughout all this, the big scene is when she cuts herself on the Iron Throne, very akin to Viserys in episode 1, getting nicked on the Iron Throne, which was a poor, bad, ill omen for what was to come for him. And it seems like that is paralleling with Rhaenyra's tenure on the Iron Throne as well. It's not going so good. I love this scene here from Rhaenyra. Do you think she automatically recognized the implications here as well?
I think she does. I think that's, besides all the overwhelming petitions of the small folk, I think this is like the last straw of like her panicking, like almost having like a panic attack in a sense. And looking up at the statue of Viserys didn't really help either. It's just like that constant reminder. But this moment of her like cutting herself in the throne, if I remember correctly, happens immediately as soon as she sits in the Iron Throne, as soon as they take King's Landing.
Oh, wow.
It's like that. And I mean, again, we have to remember that Fire and Blood is written from like the perspective of like the Maesters and rumors and stuff like that. Who the Maesters, they come from Old Town. They're have a bias for the Greens in a way, so it's not very favorable how they paint Rhaenyra in the book. But yeah, like what was it, episode 2 when they take King's Landing? I thought it was gonna be one of two things. Either her cutting on herself on the Iron Throne wasn't gonna happen at all, and it was just gonna be an example of the people who wrote Fire and Blood in universe, just them being like misogynistic and trying to like spread fear of like, well, this is what happens when a woman sits the throne type of thing. Great point. It was gonna lean more towards that direction than anything else, or her stepping on Otto's blood and walking up to the throne was the show's version of her, like, cutting herself on the throne. Obviously, now that we know that she does end up getting herself, a cut, but I like how it plays in the show because, it's a very violent way of how she takes the throne in episode 2. And you would think that if there was going to be a sign of her not being worthy of the throne, it was going to be that of like things that she would have to do to sacrifice part of her soul to sit on it, and disregard some of her morale by killing. Even though we don't like Otto as a person, we like him as a character, and like he did, and that's sort of like helping raise her as a uncle figure of sorts, and her having to do what she does to him. Maybe be like a bad omen, and like that's not how the show views it. If her bad omen is being so dismissive of the people that she's ruling over, it's a really bad look for Rhaenyra during this this petition meeting with the common people. Like you mentioned that moment of the scepter, walking in and talking about how like they're stealing some of their women, and what does Rhaenyra do? It's like, oh, I just light a candle and pray for her.
Thoughts and prayers, like very meta.
I'm like, dude, are you hearing yourself right now? again, like I like the way that it plays out in the show of her cutting herself on the throne because it's very mundane, and even though
Yes.
it seems very irrelevant, it is very significant that the reason why the throne again quote unquote rejects her is because she's not putting the people first. She's putting her own,
Mm.
sense of revenge against Amen and Ormond and all of these people, and like her own belief of being the chosen one, and like drinking her own Kool-Aid. She's putting all of those things first, but she's using the common people as a, I don't know, as a front of like, oh, I'm doing it for you, but really I'm just doing it for me.
That's a great
Uh,
point because yeah, like looking back now, it's like what could Rhaenyra have done? Because she did get like put in a horrible position immediately by having like no gold to give to the people or to this like to her guards, Gold Cloaks.
yeah, and that
But you're
wasn't her
right,
fault.
and that wasn't her fault. But we have seen her prioritize, you know, revenge in terms of like getting back at Ormond, prioritizing that in terms of like Daemon's recklessness and the Baratheon plan. It seems like mentally at least her focus is on Ormond, payback, revenge, rather than adequately dealing with the people. Granted, again, she has no money. She has no money to give to the Gold Cloaks, who then desert her, and it's very unfortunate. So a lot of it is out of her control. But I think a lot of what we've seen though is mentally she's just not putting a lot of her mental focus towards helping the people. She did in episode 1 or episode 2 or 3 with Mazaria feeding the people. Like that was pre Ormond's attacks, right? Like where she had a lot of the mental capacity to focus on like, okay, yeah, I should be more like my father. I should be more than my father. I should be giving back to the people. And that's when she had the mental capacity to do so. But with Ormond's attacks, we see that she is just like thoughts and prayers, whatever. Let me move on to like focusing on revenge, focusing on Ormond, focusing on how to deal with that rather than finding any kind of adequate solution to help the people. Maybe she could be like talking about like sending out some guards or sending out some other people to defend the sept or whatever. It's like she is still working on that, or she's still working on Ormond rather than focusing on the citizens at large. It is very sad to see because again, a lot of it is out of her control, but she's not handling it to the best of her ability.
Yeah, and another thing with Rhaenyra, ever since Viserys died and decided, this whole thing dawned on her that she's gonna have to be a ruler. Um, you know, Viserys didn't really prepare her to be to be a good queen, if we're being honest. But also, she keeps telling people like, "Oh, my father, my father, my father." Dude, your father was not a good king.
Yeah, we
He
see it
he
all the
he
time. Yeah.
he got the benefit of inheriting peace times from Jaehaerys. That's basically it. He just maintained the peace, but like he didn't even really do that. Like Daemon, when the Triarchy came in, when we're like trying to come over for the first time, Daemon is the one who dealt with it. Him and Corlys, not you. Um, Even though they fucking beg you to deal with it, like you were like very dismissive about it. But like she keeps my father, my father, my father. And like, what happens? Well, you got what you wish for. I got like a theme of this episode of like, well, now you're getting cutting yourself just like him, and showing
Oof.
that you might not be that much better of a ruler as he was. So,
Great comparison.
congratulations.
Next for Rhaenyra, we see that Alicent has called her to her room. We kind of skipped over it, but Rhaenyra does find out about Alicent, Helena having a child. But then towards the end of the episode, Alicent tells her she knows where Aemond is. She reveals that Aemond is in Harrenhal because of Helena's dreams or whatever. Talk about the whole dreamer scene, very very funny. But the big part for me was that like, okay, Rhaenyra's solution here is to have Alicent go kill Aemond herself, which is very fascinating because it's like, I don't know how that's going to go well. Does Rhaenyra honestly think Alicent could do this? Because Alicent just wants to go home. Her and Helena just want to get the hell out of there. But Rhaenyra's big play here is like, I'll let you guys, I'll consider this if you do this favor for me. If you go in there and try and, if he really is there, go kill him. Go kill Aemond, your own son. Don't know how this is going to work. Probably not going to end well for Alicent, but I'm curious. How'd you take this scene?
um, I love this show, but sometimes every once in a while they will do like some very stupid shit. um,
This is one of them.
this is one of them. One of the things that we kept complaining about, even though like the scenes on their own are good, like the idea of having Rhaenyra sneak into King's Landing to talk to Allison, and then vice versa later on in the season 2 with Allison going to Dragonstone, and now she's having Allison go to deal with Aemon, and it's like you just discovered this woman that she tried to escape, and now you're giving her a chance to be on
Escape.
the road. I was like, it doesn't make sense. Also, like, why do you keep trusting this person? You're more what's it called? You're more suspicious of people like Daemon who are actually actively trying to help you than you are with fucking Allison sometimes. And it's like, I get it, like, she was your best friend, and there's this like almost like sort of like maybe queer element to it, that if you want to like read it as that between the two of them, but it is a little bit frustrating sometimes. It's like, how many chances are you gonna give this woman?
Yeah. To be fair, she does have Helena like still in that like birdcage scenario. Helena is like in prison, so Allison does have like an impetus to come back.
Yeah,
but you're right.
That's
it's like
the thing with go
yeah,
finish your stuff.
My thing is like, does she expect Allison to fail? Does she? Because like, there's no way. Like, if somebody told Rhaenyra, "Hey, yeah, go kill Jace," she's not going to do it. So does she really expect Allison to do the same, even if Allison is in a desperate situation? I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But it's not going to end well for Rhaenyra or Allison here.
Yeah, and the benefit that the show has is that even though it will write very dumb storylines sometimes for these characters, like the actors sell it really well. Like Emma, like the way that they tell Olivia Cook, like oh, like you can go and I'll watch over Helena, but like the way that they say it is like
very dark.
It's like very dark. It's very how can I say it? Not necessarily as a terrorist, but like type of like kind of like going into that type of vibe of like, I know that you don't trust me, and I am not to be trusted with this person, but you're gonna have to do it anyway, type of thing.
Mm-hmm. You have no choice.
I really like it. Yeah, and also like you mentioned it, like that very funny scene between the two discussing the dreams, and it's funny how Allison reacts to it, and Rhaenyra is just like, it's another Tuesday for us, type of thing. But
oh yeah,
but again, like there's this like underlining sense of darkness of now Rhaenyra has this like prophet under her belt. What is she gonna do with that information? Is she gonna like force Helena to try to do or see things that she doesn't even really want to? Because again, like you can crack this, you can track this all the way back to the second half of season 1, but like her dreams seem to be very scattered, very random. Yes. It's not like you can command her to like, oh, go see what's gonna happen next Tuesday, type of thing. It's like, that's not how it works. So it's gonna be very interesting. I kind of wish, maybe we'll happen next week. I highly doubt it, but I kind of wish we would get a scene maybe between her, Helena, and Daemon, because again, we have to remember Daemon saw Helena in one of his dreams.
Yeah,
Helena talked to him in his last dream in Harrenhal. Why has nobody brought that up, or why hasn't he like, been curious to talk to her at all about it? I don't know. Hopefully the show addresses it. I highly doubt it will, because now it very much seems like it's gonna be just focused on Rhaenyra's way of how she's gonna view this. But I'm very interested. I'm very interested in how it's gonna play out.
I agree. I do hope we get at least Helena and Rhaenyra having some scenes alone together, because that's the dynamic that we haven't really seen as of yet.
And it seems like that's gonna happen next week, based on the preview. But one last thing between these characters and Allison and the Helena of it all. Before she leaves, or we assume that it's the scene before she leaves in this episode, a big issue so far, and one of the reasons why Allison keeps like trying to talk to Rhaenyra about their situation, is that Helena is not eating. She seems to be in this very like depressed state of mind, which it doesn't help because of the situation, but also she is pregnant and she's having all of these like reactions to the current state of where she is, her mom, and her child. And last week we saw like Allison trying to force her to, drink the moon tea. And now that we know that Mysaria might be inclined to play both sides type of thing, before Allison leaves, she feeds Helena some soup and she smiles, but like it seems like a very dark smile in a sense to me.
Rhaenyra smiles or
no, Allison.
Smiles. Okay.
When she feeds Helena like that
Gotcha.
scoop of soup. Do you think she managed to get herself like another
some moon
bit
tea?
of like moon tea and like mix it on the soup? Because in the preview for next week, when Rhaenyra is kind of like not fighting, but like kind of like shaking Helena to talk to her, she looks very sick. She looks paler than normal. I'm like, Allison, did you do something before you left? I don't know.
Interesting. We'll see. I forgot about that scene, so it might be too small for Allison to do something like that. But I think it is going to be a ripple effect of her just not eating, and her. Yeah. Is she going to die in childbirth? That'd be dark. And Edgar's not going to say shit. But like, that is very interesting.
Well, the kid is already born in the book, so I don't know.
That's a good point. Yeah, he's already dead, so they could just like pre-kill him or something like that. Poor Helena, but I like to focus on Helena this season. It's doing very well. I have to go soon, but I really want to focus on Aemond and Alice and Darren as well. But let's do Aemond and Alice. Not too much happening with their scenes, but I do like a lot of the Alice monologues that we've gotten, especially in their last scene here after they kill the stable boy and she gives him the eggs, really to try and compel Aemond to stay there. Aemond this episode is very focused on reuniting with Vhagar, and in order to compensate for that separation, Alice is trying to really fill in the gaps here. Similar stuff was happening last week, but again, Alice really wants him to stay in, and she even gives excuses for Vhagar, saying maybe Vhagar left you to help you, right? Like if Vhagar was here, maybe there'll be more eyes on you, but Vhagar left to protect you, that kind of thing. But then then Alice gives him some of the dragon eggs, really to heighten up the whole ancient heritage of it all. She ends it by being like, "I will be the Lady of the Lake, and you'll be the Lord of Dragons." Like really trying to heighten up his lineage, basically his lineage, his dragon abilities, and their romantic connection. Maybe they can find a new dynasty. She's talking about dynasties. Like maybe they can form a new dynasty together, and it really compels Aemond, especially in contrast to where he was feeling kind of like, even though he had it all in season 2, without Vhagar, he's kind of feeling kind of empty. The whole Aegon-Aemond comparison we talked about last week. This is really giving Aemond like an impetus to really become his own person with Alice. So I kind of really liked this dynamic here.
Yeah. One of the interesting about this dynamic is that, again about Helena again and the tapestry that she's sewing of Aemond. Aemond seems to be like, kind of like hugging himself, kind of like a baby, and he's like on this like red thing that looks very similar to like very like vaginal type of like imagery. Sure. And then like Alice is just like hovering over him kind of with a stick, kind of like enchanting him. I still don't fully know what Alice's motivations are. Like I'm starting to get there, but I'm still like, what really is your goal here? And it's interesting. Like again, like the actress that plays her, she's every monologue. I'm like, go girl, cook. Yeah. But yeah, like I'm still like, why do you want to build a new dynasty of dragons?
That's a great question. I think again, I go back to like she just wants to stay in Harrenhal. Maybe if this new dynasty can be birthed within Harrenhal, this could be the center of their new dynasty together. She can have more power. Because they talk about how they're both cursed, right? She's cursed and he's cursed with being plagued with his own, like mentally plagued, mentally cursed. And they can be cursed together. They can form something new together. But yeah, like I am waiting for the end of her arc to see the real like fruition. What does she really want at the end of all this? Because does she honestly believe Aemond will stay here forever? He's going to leave eventually. Especially with now Alicent coming into it all. Like, how would she react? How would Alice react to that? I'm just so curious how that storyline is how those are gonna converge there. But I do like a lot of their scenes, and even with the dragon eggs, it's like these are nice, but like this is more of a long term thing. It's not gonna help them in the short term.
Yeah. And another thing about it is that I like their scenes. I like their dynamic. I really like the chemistry between the two of them, and I am really digging this like goth romance vibe to the relationship. But it, again, going back to what we were talking about with like the Winter Wolves and stuff like that, like I feel like it is moving a little bit too fast for me. And I think an easy solution for this would have been like being able to actually see Aemon's visions. But again, because people complained about them last season, we're like everybody's paying for it now, type of thing. And also because we're like 2 episode shorts again. But
I thought we were going to get it, but then she opened up the chest and it's dragon eggs. I'm like, oh, they're going to a new location. Is she going to give him another vision? But she's like, I got something for you. Dragon eggs, not a vision. I'm like, God damn it. But yeah, you're right. Like, I do like their connection. I do like their scenes together. But yeah, it is getting like kind of, I wouldn't say fast for me. It's kind of like spinning in place. Because a lot of it didn't seem too different from last week. Although that final monologue, I was like, okay, now we're cooking. Now I see like a lot of the like ideals and glory that she kind of envisions for herself coming. But we'll see what happens with them. Then lastly, we got, I think the star of the episode here was Gawain. I love Gawain so much. Gawain coming into town, his dynamic with Ormund is just, they hate each other. They both know that they hate each other, but the family. So it's very, very funny to see their dynamic like riff off of each other. It's so beautiful to watch. James continues to be fantastic as Ormond. But most of all, I also did like seeing more of Darren's agency. You know, I was kind of worried for Darren. Like, is he having a lack of agency here as he was forced to kill Hugh's wife's brother? But like when he's forced to kill that person, it's like, what's Darren really feeling like? We haven't heard much from Darren outside of Ormond's presence. But we finally get that with Darren talking to Gawain. Gawain's like, I got to go back to town. You know, I'm second in line. Ormond might die, so I got to set some things in place. But Darren's like, don't leave me here with him. I hate him. I hate being here. I don't want to be the person that Ormond wants me to become. I really liked this from Darren. I thought he was really showcasing a lot of great agency here. And then on top of that, Gawain coming to the rescue, knowing automatically that these Baratheons are fakers, and killing everybody. Ormond would have died here. The show would have been over. It would have been clean, simple and clean, but Gawain saves the day, and now he's going to stay in Templeton.
Yeah.
But all around, great episode for Gawain.
Yeah, 2 things there. I do think it's a bit comical that that one of Gawain's superpowers in this episode is it's even though like Ormond kind of like keeps teasing him about it, that he is gay and that he's able to like like identify that this is not the Baratheon guy, because the Baratheon guy is like way more handsome than the guy that Rhaenyra sent. So there's that aspect of it, but also, you know, in their first scene together between the two, between Gawain and Ormond, he calls Gawain like a coward, like craven or something like that, for leaving you know, his host with Criston, and for wanting to go back to Old Town. And you know, it's ironic because like, you know, that whole assassination attempt happens and like Ormond might be the one with the Valyrian steel sword, but he clearly seems like he's not capable of actually fighting. And you know, he's like very squeamish about the smells and about like seeing blood, and it's a very pathetic, like, you know, I love Ormond. He, again, like we since like he was introduced, we've like been sort of comparing him to like a Tywin, but like he is very much like a pathetic version of Tywin. Like if Tywin didn't have like no balls, basically. And you know, I like that final scene between the two of like by the window where like, they're like overlooking Darren training, because even though he's offering Wayne the opportunity to leave, you can tell that he very much wants him to stay, because he knows that, you know, he might be savvy, but he's not a warrior, and Wayne is. But he won't say it. He won't admit it to him, to his face, type of thing. So it's a really, really fun dynamic.
Really fun dynamic. You could tell he was so happy when Gwen's like, I'll stick around for a little bit. I'll stick around. I was like, okay. Ormond's like, phew. But it is so different because I like how ever since he was first introduced, we're seeing more and more flaws within the armor here for Ormond. When he first got introduced with Daemon, he has a huge army behind his back. I'm like, oh, this guy's probably a decent warrior. He has a huge army behind his back. He has to have some kind of physical attributes. But yeah, this episode really showed his whole ass because he would have gotten completely killed as he's throwing up and getting tricked by these Baratheons, by Rhaenyra. The same person he called, he was being so misogynistic this episode too. I forget what he calls her, but he's just like,
he says like, I'll cut the bitch from crown to cunt or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Every time like a woman is mentioned, he has to say like the most misogynistic thing possible.
And he almost got played by said woman. He almost got tricked.
It's funny because he was like praising the yellow toad from Dorne last week, and like Rhaenyra kind of does like a really savvy thing this week, and like Bucky will never admit it. Very, we're like still in Odyssey season, very continuous of him, of like cowardly, like on a corner, like letting Wayne handle it, but like not getting involved in the fight type of thing. So yeah, that was fun.
Very great stuff. Gawain just has great reactions, or great dynamic with everybody too. He was great with Criston the last couple episodes, and he's great with Darren. He's great with Ormond. A lot of their dialogue is just so engaging and so cool. But yeah, to end it off, he does bite back at the very last scene of the episode. He does kidnap. People think he kills Corlys. In my opinion, he just kidnaps Corlys.
Yeah, because I think didn't he this episode say like, oh, the only good decision that Rhaenyra has done is like name Corlys as her hand.
Yeah, so people are like, oh, that's the end of Corlys. I'm like, they don't kill Corlys like that. No way. So we might keep him as like prisoner, as a bargaining chip for what's to come. Yeah. That might be the big dilemma next week.
Really good scenes between Alan and Corlys too. Not much to talk about there. It's just them arguing, more of the same basically.
But I do like their scenes together. You're right. Great, good stuff between them. They're really, especially if we're going to get a big Corlys focus next week. These scenes are going to be important. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter at HarrisEV9. I was surprised we had talked about that much about episode 6. I didn't think there was that much to talk about. But a lot of these schemes and a lot of these flawed people are starting to show up here in House of the Dragon as we near the end of the season. But yeah, follow me, HarrisEV9, for more podcasts coming up.
Yeah. And you can find me at EDG or TEG and all social medias. You can find some of my written work, a lot in clear reviews in the Cinema Spot. You can check out our socials at WHFG Podcasts. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. We'll be back next week, probably Monday, if not, probably Tuesday at this time. So yeah, penultimate episode, almost over. The season is almost over, so bit sad, but hey, we'll get Night of the Seven Kingdoms next year, early next year. So at least there's something to look forward to. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.